But hey, welcome. This is going to be the second self-care conversation. This is my friend Andrey. He's going to tell us all
Yeah,
about his self-care practices and what's important to him under this lens. Before we begin, I just wanted to talk a little bit why self-care is so important, why I'm putting these together and having these conversations, and with diverse people, as many people as I can find, so we can see basically our common humanity, right? Our common connection to the unconscious. What's really important about self-care is at the root, there's two main states that we can be in. There's the freeze, fight, and flight response. And then there's the rest and digest state where we're healing, where we're rejuvenating, where you have access to your prefrontal cortex, where you have access to your purpose, your identity, your values, and you can live authentically. That's over here. Now, the thing about self-care, and really at the root, it's self-compassion. It's that going easy on yourself, right? It's making things easy. It's like almost giving yourself a hug, just like relaxing and just making it easy. That will make it easier to connect with your unconscious and let it flow because you have access to your prefrontal cortex. And if you've seen my stream, and this is I'll plug where you can find us. It's twitch.tv backspace the hypnotist. And if you've seen my stream, you'll see there's times where I have like a brain fart because I start putting all this pressure to know that thing. And the moment I put all this pressure on it is the moment that I no longer have access to it, right? Because now I'm over here. So that's why self-care and self-compassion is so important. So you have access to all of this. So that being said, Andrey, tell us a little bit about yourself. How are you doing?
oh, pretty good, pretty good. Thank you. I'm living in Charlotte, so no snow.
Nice. Very cool. Or
So
not
yeah,
cold.
well, yeah, it's actually kind of cold. It's
Okay.
around like at night it gets to like 30ish, but daytime it's around 50. So I like
Nice.
Charlotte. I
And
like
no
Charlotte.
snow.
Yeah. No snow. I love snow, but for skiing, not for driving around, and so I like to go to Colorado and ski there. But
Definitely.
I've been living in snow environment all my life, technically, so I'm enjoying my last 2 years in Charlotte without
Sure.
snow.
I live.
Yeah,
I envy. Well, I don't envy you actually, but I'm enjoy it. Enjoy it while you have
yeah,
this transition. While it's nice.
yeah. So talking about me, just regular guy who kind of interested in different levels of awareness and consciousness, because I think that's the main thing that people need to learn. Otherwise, we are now no different from animals. Most of us just live, eat, sleep, having sex, reproduce, and just keep doing it. And what's the purpose of your life if you're doing only those three basic things? It's just like the fact that you have iPhone and can watch TV overall doesn't make you any better. What's the purpose of your life?
Sure.
Just
And that's for sure it is. What is the purpose?
yeah. So technically, again, it's been fights between all different like religions, confessions, or like philosophic studies, and nobody, of course, can prove what's the meaning of life. Nobody knows. But I think the meaning of life is you live and enjoy it. And just for me, there is no enjoyment just living those three main topics, like having sex, eating, and reproduce, and then die. There is
Sure.
no there is no like sense behind it for me. For some people, if that makes them happy, then it's perfect life. It's the purpose of their life on this earth, but not for me. And that's why I'm trying to kind of get deeper, try to read more books about it, try to different practices, and
Yeah.
that's what technically makes me, if not happy, but at least like fulfills my life with some purpose,
Definitely.
with some sense.
Nice. It sounds powerful, really, because it's right. Nice. And well, I guess I'm kind of curious. How do you practice self-care with your physiology as far under this kind of lens, this lens of learning and growing, right? And like doing things that are other than that. What things do you incorporate to take care of your physiology?
Well, I'm a lot into sports,
Sure.
and That's actually another thing, that in healthy body you have a healthy spirit. So some confession thinks it's the way around, that you need to be like just concentrate on your spiritual life, and that's like the main idea. But I don't think so. If you're sick and if you get in trouble on your physical level, you most likely cannot really concentrate on any other spiritual ways, because you'll be just concerned with like pains and with everything is just falling apart, your body is falling apart. So I think the physical health is very important in all this. It's just like a base of your like building up your awareness and your I don't know how to say it, but I think physical health is a base for your journey.
Sure.
Makes your journey like in a way easier and more enjoyable.
Yeah, definitely. And that's so true, because that's what's kind of cool when you are taking care of your body with like nutrition and rest and all of that. You have the right minerals and nutrients so your muscles can work the right way. There's no overbalance, underbalance. No parts of your system are doing too much work.
I have a little overbalance, but usually
well, definitely. Right. Like, I know this is like the ideal state, but this is where, that's kind of like health. It's like that ability to have all that kind of, right. It just makes everything easier, because then it's easier just to do all these things, and it's easier to stay in this state because then your system's not stressed from a lack of nutrients, lack of hydration, lack of water, all those, lack of movement. And that kind of ties into, it just reminds me of, if you don't use it, you lose it, right?
Yeah.
So when you do go to try to be mobile, if you haven't been, you've just been sitting in a chair, how long can you be? The system's very efficient.
Yeah.
So then what you mentioned that you do a lot of sports. What sports specifically?
Oh, I do like biking. Running appears to be a good sport when you're young. When you're getting older, running is not that great anymore because it gives you like very heavy pressure on your knees, on joints. But I switched it to hiking. So I do lots of hiking. Yesterday I did 11-mile hike in one of our mountain areas. I just drove there and I hiked for 11 miles. And you're alone with the nature and you're enjoying it, and it's actually a good exercise. So I had a little bit of food with me and, hiked for 4 hours, and then I came back and I enjoyed myself because it was like achievement. I didn't spend my day doing nothing, and again, it was healthy exercise and it was in union with nature.
Yeah.
So hiking, I think it's a great exercise overall if you're not into like any particular sport.
Sure. Yeah. And I like that you mentioned that you get to connect with nature because, we come from nature.
Yeah, it's true. We forget about it, but yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
Sports. I like swimming too. Like I think swimming is the most is the less dangerous sport. I would say it's kind of hard to injure yourself with the swimming unless you decide to drown or something. But
yeah, I was gonna say if you get injured swimming, then you probably don't have to worry about it because you've drowned.
Yeah, I know, but that's what it is. And actually, the sport I played underwater hockey, so you can drown.
That's hardcore.
Yeah, but overall it was fun. Yeah, so swimming, biking, running, or actually now jogging and like hiking. I like skiing winter time. Not very healthy, but that's definitely more for yourself. It's for your own happiness. I like skiing.
Sure.
So sometimes you need to have like a balance between like a good sport and enjoyable sport. So that's
definitely. And I'm curious, how you experience that. So you mentioned, because I guess I was kind of noticing that there's a part of you that kind of wants to that kind of has that reservation with skiing, but then there's that other part of you that knows that it's like that's the self-care aspect. It's you're taking care of you, by skiing. And how do you experience that, knowing when you're taking care of you when you're skiing, despite what anyone else is saying about skiing?
It's mental. It's just like if you feel happy with what you do, you just do it. And some people get to extreme level, and I cannot say it's bad. It's just their life. So some people like jumping with parachute, or
Sure.
doing jet jumps, all the dangerous stuff. But that's their life. It's their way to express their life. And yes, it may bring their life, make it shorter. But on the other hand, we're all going to die, no matter
Yeah.
what we do. So I think comparing a person who lived like 80 years but was unhappy all 80 years and just lived in ruined family and just again did nothing through the entire life, and the other guy who lived 30 years but was happy all those 30 years and doing what he loved, I think those 30 years are more important for his soul than those 80 that person just hated it.
Sure.
So, in a way, but on my personal opinion, I would like it to be in balance. So I like adrenaline, I like some like extreme sports, but again, on the level of comfort. So I'm not doing like too extreme stuff. I just like to make my to challenge my body more,
Definitely.
yeah.
I was just thinking because underwater hockey does sound pretty extreme.
Yeah, it is extreme in a way, but again, you're playing in the pool. There are 10
Sure.
people around you. Something happens, they can save you.
Sure. No,
Yeah,
for sure. But it does seem
yeah, but
hardcore.
it is, but it's more fun than hardcore. I don't know.
For sure. No, I know. And that's what's like what
It,
you're that's what's so cool. Like what you're talking about is like that's what's so fun about doing hardcore things is well, even if you don't consider that hardcore, like when I skateboard, I didn't
mm-hmm.
consider that hardcore. I mean, I still don't, but it still kind of is hardcore, you know?
Yeah, but by the way, by skateboarding, you may injure yourself. More chances to injure yourself than playing underwater hockey.
Definitely.
So like in 3 years of underwater hockey, I think I had like a couple of minor scratches and I had blisters from fins. I believe, especially when you're learning how to skateboard, you're gonna have lots of bruises and.
That's very true. Yeah, no, that's
Yeah,
very true. You gotta learn skateboarding in a pool.
yeah, I know. That's what they say. So combined underwater skateboarding.
Yeah, and then you have time to react, you know? The
Yeah,
board's going
yeah,
slower.
yeah. You can breathe more often. Yeah, I know.
That would be so fun.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm curious, what else comes to mind? Does anything else come to mind when you're thinking about self-care around your physical self, your physical body, your
Mm-hmm.
physiology? Like
Well,
posture or anything, or like breathing, any of
well,
those?
that's what probably I need to do, like because my passion, I'm like a programmer, so I'm
Oh
sitting like
yeah.
this all the time. So yeah, sometimes I like recall it and like, okay, I'm sitting like this, and I feel that my arch on my back is just like bending into the circle. So I'm like, oh, I need to like sit like this, or I need to stand up. Like when I've been actively working, like before I was unemployed, I've been every hour I was just standing up and I was doing some like light exercises, like standing in a plank for 1 minute or doing push-ups, like 20 push-ups or something like that. So I don't have to sit all the time. So I did those like sport breaks
Nice.
here and there. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds huge. And I think that's great advice, especially nowadays, since so many people are kind of resigned to their desk or a
Oh
camera like
yeah.
this, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or like you're saying, or coding, or just like some sort of desktop, like a computer
Mm-hmm.
desktop job, right?
Yeah.
And so it's cool to know, yeah, like just 1 minute, right? You just stand up,
Yeah.
do a couple
Yeah.
push-ups,
Yeah.
you know, even maybe
Technically,
some jumping jacks or just even some.
yeah, yeah. Even 1 minute is much better than just sit for the full 8 hours, and then you get into lots of
Yeah.
trouble with your back, with your butt.
Yeah, yeah, right. Like if you can even feel it anymore.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. So again, in any type of a work, you need to find something to get some muscles relaxed. Like every type of work, even not necessarily seated one, but different ones, like a construction workers. You do some specific exercise all the time at your work, and it makes some of your muscles very tense. So
Sure.
you need here and there be able to relax those muscles and maybe tense some other muscles. So I think, like for example, for construction worker, I would really like recommend yoga because it will first stretch your tired muscles, and at the same time it will teach you to relax them after that.
Nice.
So that would be real helpful, like for construction workers, for example, and again for office workers too. But again, you need to choose what's good for you, like for your own, like ask your inner eye question, like what do you like? If you don't like yoga, just don't do it, because it won't make you happy. So again, you just need to find it for yourself.
Definitely. Yeah, I was just going to say that's what's so important about kind of putting up those roadblocks, because that stuff, sometimes it can try to make us react to the environment and try to control our behaviors. But not only that, it's also very important not to do what everyone else is doing in the environment either. It's to really tune in and find out what works for you, what connects with your purpose. To come from the top down, for sure. Very cool. I'm kind of curious, just moving into the mental realm now. So we've talked a lot about like physiology in the body, and you've shared a lot of different things. I really liked hiking, connecting with nature, and I like how accessible it is, because it's basically like advanced walking, so everyone can kind of do it, and like you can go at your own pace.
And you don't have to actually drive to the nature to do it. Very often, like, Charlotte is a great city, but they don't have like too many big parks, like, or state parks nearby. You need to drive there. So sometimes I'm just like, I'm sitting at home, and then like I have the weather is nice, I just go outside and walk in the neighborhood. And I don't like busy streets, so I just go to the neighborhoods with all those like, 1 or 2 store houses. And it's usually quiet and nice, and I just walk there for like an hour or so, and then I just come back home. And it relaxes too. It's just like you feel that you didn't like. It feels very bad when you stayed at home all the time, like all day you stayed at home, and then at night, like, what did I do? I did nothing. I just sit home. Even this 1 hour walk, even if you did anything else, just this 1 hour walk will make you a little like happier, because you did something you enjoyed at least this hour during the day. You walked outside, you enjoyed the sun, you enjoyed the air. So walking, I think, is very important.
Definitely. And I'm sure that walk would shift your state, when you get out there, like things will change, and it'll put you in a different state than when you're inside. Definitely. Very cool. And then kind of moving into like the mental aspect, how do you practice self-care in as far as like mental health goes, as far as like your mind, as far as that?
Yeah, sure. I do a couple of breathing exercises. Like, I wouldn't call them a yoga, or I wouldn't even call it like breathing yoga, but I do some breathing exercises, and I try to do some meditation, and I'm trying to be consistent. I'm not very good at it, because I think like the main purpose of meditation is, for me, I think, it's to stop inner talking, and it doesn't stop that easily, and I am not very patient, but I think it's better to do 15-20 minutes a day than do like 2-hour meditation but once a week.
Sure.
So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm doing like my kind of yoga exercises or breathing exercises, and then after that I'm trying to do 15-20 minutes meditation where I just follow my breath. I'm just watching my breath and trying not to think about anything. Definitely. And if I catch myself, I start like dreaming about something, like, okay, stop it, and again, breathe it in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, and it really relaxes you. And sometimes I even get into like, I usually cannot do it more than 20 minutes, but sometimes I have days like, I'm just breathing, and I look, it's 1 hour past. So you get into this stage of like hypnotic stage where you kind of get rid of all your thoughts, and then you just breathe in and you enjoy it, and it relaxes you and it relaxes your mind, and again makes you in a way, I would say, happier. So that's one of the approaches. There are some other approaches that are probably not very legal in the US, but
well, yeah.
But again, I don't do that. I have very mixed feelings about taking psychedelics, for example, because it can bring you something, but at the same way, you need to pay sometimes a big price for that.
Sure.
And I'm not talking about narcotics. Narcotics, like, all those bad narcotics, I'm highly against it. But I'm talking about psychedelics, like mushrooms or ayahuasca or all this stuff. So for that, I've been on shamanic ceremonies before. And my personal opinion after that, you can try it only if you absolutely need it. Like, if you are desperate, nothing else helps, then it's like another way of like trying, maybe this will help. And for some people, it helps.
Sure.
So like, yeah, psychedelics, so like mushrooms help some people fight their depressions, and ayahuasca helps them too, to answer some questions, to, So, but again, the result is unpredictable, and I would really recommend it only if you're desperate. There's no other way. You're like ready to, like, I don't know what to do anymore.
For sure.
Maybe that can help.
Definitely. And then I was going to say, personally, just like the spirit of the channel, we don't condone use of psychedelics. The whole reason, it kind of goes back to self-care, and like how you're mentioning, it's like that tax, right? You were saying there's like a tax that when you do it, and that tax, I feel like, can just do the opposite with the mental health, and like you were saying, it's different with everyone, but since it's so out of your control, right? That's kind of the big thing, is what you're going to get from it is so out of your control. And the spirit of the stream is all about the things that are within your control. Your spirit, your focus, your sensations, your thoughts, and your physiology. And people do have profound, amazing experiences. It's just, I feel like there's other ways to practice self-care and mental health.
And I fully support it. And again,
for sure. And that's we are researching mushrooms as far as like PTSD and stuff. So I'm just saying, right.
Yeah. And I've been kind of get some, like, I don't call it enlightenment, but I've been like, get some of my questions answered. Like, when you do psychedelic, you break in the wall. Okay. You're not going through the door. You just like, you grab in your head and just, boom, you break, and to get some higher, whatever, different consciousness levels. But you are not doing it naturally. You break in the wall. And breaking the wall is not, sometimes not very good. And doing it like your way, it's a natural way of doing it. You just try and you study your own mind and your own body step by step. Yeah. And it will be, of course, like longer path, but it's, I think, more stable.
Yes.
Because you are learning by yourself, and you're achieving your goals step by step, instead of just breaking it in the middle of something. And then usually people, like, they get into like some different states of mind using psychedelics, but they even don't know what they get after that. So something happened, something very unusual happened, but what you learn out of it? Sometimes people just don't understand. Just something happened very strong and very powerful, but they don't know what happened. So what the benefit out of it? And when you do it natural way, you kind of, you know with each step what you achieve.
Yeah. And I like that you mentioned it was a sustainable, because I was thinking, right, like, this is all stuff you can do at any moment in your life, right? At any second. And like you were saying, if you were to use psychedelics, and even if you were to get something after the trip, and you're out in the real world and stuff, do you have the same access to that as you do to these things? And I would say chances are probably not. And especially how you mentioned this is a little bit more gradual, but you're actually building it into existence. Every time you're taking these steps and using these and bringing them to life more and more, you're actually bringing it into reality, instead of like it's saying, like, it's still just a trip, it's just, once it's over, it's not really here any longer.
Yeah. I think the goal of my natural meditations and like natural breathing techniques and everything is step by step to get the ability to achieve those, like, boom, like breaking the wall changes that psychedelics can do, but without using them.
Sure.
And I think that will be then a big achievement for me, because again, psychedelic is a tool, and it's kind of expensive tool, not in the way
That
of
was the
money,
other flip
but
side I was going to say is
yeah,
like, how much would you
but
have to
not in the
spend?
but not in the way of money. It's expensive tool because it's you depend on something outside substance to move you somewhere, and you don't have any control out of it. When you do it achieving yourself, you have control out of it. So you learn to control it.
Yeah.
And that's a big difference. So psychedelics, I don't minimize their help like to some people in some situations. But again, it all depends on psychedelic what it's gonna do to you. It doesn't depend on you. So technically, like if you go to the trip, you don't know how it's gonna end. It can be a good trip, can be a bad trip. You don't know what you're gonna learn out of it. You maybe learn nothing, or maybe you will learn something, or maybe it will be a bad trip, so you will learn something, but in a very hard way. But you never know what's going to be resolved before that. When you do your own meditation, you do it step by step, but you have your goals. You go to some specific goal and you grow in this direction. And that, I think, the big advantage of natural way of increasing your awareness.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. I was kind of curious because before you were mentioning the meditation, you were mentioning meditation, and sometimes like you can kind of be hard on yourself when like the voice, I guess, when you're trying to get you wanted like the results kind of quickly and stuff.
Yeah,
I was curious, how could you practice self-compassion in that moment to make it easier?
Interesting question. Well, like somebody told once that you cannot love anyone around you until you learn to love yourself. And I think that the first step, you cannot really like show compassion to people in the world around you until you start showing compassion towards yourself. And I think those meditations, when you meditate and you try to stop your inner talking, it kind of teaches you this compassion. So it teaches you to to respect yourself, I would say, in a way. So you taking your time to grow, and I think that in a way, the compassion is a part of it. So you need to grow if you have love and compassion and understanding towards yourself. You need to first understand yourself, and then when you achieve that, or at least you close to that, you can start going outwards. Like first you need to concentrate inward, and that's what your meditation does.
Definitely.
You go inward, and then when you get it and you kind of understand like what's the purpose, not in like, well, I can explain what's the purpose of my life, but I would usually say like, if you understand the purpose of your life, if you live happily, if you're happy with what you do, then technically you doing the right thing, I would say. So
definitely. So then I'm curious, when you're meditating, you're experiencing that happiness then, right?
That's my goal. Not always, but that's the goal.
Okay.
That's
What do you
the goal,
notice gets in the way of
learn
your
to be
happiness?
happy. Yeah, so learn to be happy. And happiness is when you, again, it's a feeling. You cannot explain it like what happy is. So happy is when you enjoy in your life. And technically, once I've been in one meditation session, so I not always do it myself. Sometimes I go to some meditation sessions, and the guy actually asked me, "What's the happiness for you?" And like because at that time I was depressed, like I was breaking up with a girl, and I was kind of depressed. And on the meditation I said like, yeah, I'm not happy. And he's like, what's happy?
Yeah.
Like, and it was a good question at the time because I didn't think. I was just like saying the words. I'm not happy. I'm not happy. I'm depressed. I'm not happy. But what's happy?
Yeah.
And I kind of stopped and think. And then I recall one like moment in my life. We had it a lot when we were kids, but I recall it like when I already grew up. I was helping my friend to move, so we were like lifting heavy stuff from his apartment, loading the truck, and everything. And at some point, I felt like I'm full of energy, and I was just like everyone, just like yeah, I work and yeah, we helping, but it's 2 o'clock already, and blah blah blah. But I was, for some reason, I don't know what got into me. I was just like, I was grabbing stuff and running back and forth, and I was dancing and everything. I was full of energy. I was happy. And for me, it was that physical happiness that you're full of energy and you can like conquer the world.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way, but again, like just because you can do whatever you want and you're just happy just because you are.
Yeah.
And for no particular reason. And at that time, and everyone's just like, wow, Andrey, you have so much energy. How do you do it? And I didn't know what to answer because usually I'm a normal person. I don't have that much of energy. But at that particular moment, something happened. And that's actually my target, my flag on my all practices that I do to achieve this, like to learn to be that Andrey and that moment, like full of energy and happy, just because you are.
Definitely.
So
I'm curious. So when you tap into that Andrey, when you can see that Andrey dancing with all that energy, right, running back and forth, you know, everyone else is like, oh, it's 2 p.m. Oh,
yeah.
But you're like, you don't know what it was, but you were just overtaken. You had all this energy, right?
Yeah.
What do you notice when you can notice that Andrey feeling that way?
I noticed that I want to dance.
Exactly. So how does it feel knowing that you can tap into that you because it's inside? So you can have that happiness whenever you want it, whenever you need it.
I guess I think that's why one of the sport activities that I do is dancing. Probably it brings back that moment. And actually, it's a good that you reminded me because I moved to Charlotte and I stopped dancing. I don't go to any class. Of course, with the COVID right now, it's not that easy to find a dance studio. But I probably need to reconsider and think about like with all this stuff getting open here and there. Maybe they have some classes open already, especially in Charlotte where it's not that strict.
Cool. That's huge.
Get back to dances. Yeah.
Very cool. But then just kind of focusing on that Andrey again, because you know that story, right? You know how to really get into it because when that guy asked you, what's happiness for you? You really took a moment and it clicked, right? And then you saw that and you don't know what overtook you, but you had that energy and you're running back and forth. You're dancing, everyone else is, like.
Yeah, it's Andrey. He's crazy, yeah.
But you have that happiness, right? And that's why it seems like you might be crazy. It's because you have that happiness. And that's why they're kind of over there,
Yeah, and what I'm trying to learn to bring it like anchored to that feeling and bring it back on my wish because we are like in our society, we are unhappy too often.
Sure.
And just like right now, I'm like, I've lost a job. So like I'm trying to apply to jobs. And at some moment I'm become not depressed, but I would say concerned. Like, okay, I need to pay my bills and I don't have a job and what I need to do. But on the big level, it doesn't matter. It's all here. It doesn't matter. You have job, you don't have job. That happiness, again, it's here. That not happiness, it's here. So it's a matter of anchor. With the fact that I am not happy, I'm not finding a job. So I have like a choice. I have a choice. Either, okay, still don't have a job but be happy, or still don't have a job but be unhappy.
Yeah.
And it's what I'm trying to learn. So it's a matter of, it's a stage of my mind. And it's of course, it's good if you can anchor it to this happy feeling and just bring it back and just keep searching for your job wherever, do your normal steps, but in the stage of happiness. There's a stage of concerns and like, oh, okay, I have like $5 left on my account, what am I gonna pay for my apartment? With the fact that you're concerned, it's not gonna change those $5. It's still gonna be $5. Regardless of you're happy or not. So it's just better to be happy and whatever happens, just events. So something happened, your credit score will go down or whatever, but still, it doesn't matter. It's like your physical reality and your mind. It's your choice how to react on this physical reality. And it's easy to say, but it's hard to change in you. And that's, I think, one of the reasons for all those meditations, breathing technique, and even for the psychedelic sometimes, because we are looking for something that can anchor us to the stage of happiness.
Sure.
So
What I thought was really cool is right there, you kind of wrapped up self-compassion in a nutshell. Basically, it's like, right, we're always going through life. Exactly. We're always going through life, right? Things are always happening in the environment, and we're always doing stuff. And it might not always be exactly what we want to be doing, but that's just how it is. There's always things happening in the environment, and we're always doing stuff. So at any moment, we can choose to be beating ourselves up and like focusing on the negative and all the stuff we did wrong, and like, you know what I mean? And think about that. I mean, we've all been there. Like, how much do you want to do anything when like you've beaten yourself up for like a half hour, an hour, you know, and you're just like super low energy and tired, right? So we could do that, but self-compassion's, it's kind of the opposite, you know? It's like, it's the flip side. It's that instead of focusing on all the stuff, right? It's focusing, this is why it's so important, why focus is so important. It's choosing what you want to focus on, but it's also choosing how you focus on it, right? So as those things are happening, how do you choose to focus on them? And are you focusing, again, like simplistically, are you focusing on solutions or are you focusing on the problems? Because if you're focusing on the problems, you're going to just find more. You're going to keep finding more problems. And it's just going to keep you farther from the solution. So this is another huge reason why those roadblocks are so important and why self-compassion is. And then you also wrap this up. You wrapped up a very important point before. It was about that. It was about self-care and happiness, and about the compassion. It slipped my mind. If it comes back, I'll let the pressure go, and it'll probably come back. But yeah, I mean, everything's been super powerful so far. I was curious, yeah, like especially, I think that's the big key, and that kind of reminds me. That's kind of what I was asking about with like your meditation. When you're in that meditation and you hear your inner talking, are you focusing on, you know, the problems, or are you focusing on the solutions? You know, as far as self-compassion goes, because it just sounded like sometimes you might be a little hard on yourself when you hear your inner talking.
Well, my inner talking is more about dreaming. So I've noticed a lot that I just start dreaming about stupid things. Like I just exaggerate them. For example, that I become a president of some country and become just like I rule everything the way I want. Like I think the way that's right. And I'm just like catching myself on those thoughts, like, oh, Andrey, just stop it, you know, come on, meditate, you know. Get out of those thoughts. And that's actually, I know where it comes from. It comes from news, it comes from media. Our brain get garbage with all the like bad politic news. And like, that's where like Andrey, big boss, it comes from there, because you read all this negative stuff, like, you know, somebody did this and the economy goes down and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, those son of a guns, they do this bad way. I would do this, and this way, you know? Yeah. So you start dreaming about it, but it's all come from garbage media. And technically that's another way that you need to fight with. You just need to clean up your mind. You know, you need to clean up all this garbage from your head, minimize the amount of Facebook and other media usage, because they put lots of garbage into your head. And I'm not saying that they're all lying, but again, they giving you so much information that you really don't need. Even if it's true or not, you just don't need it in your life. Why you getting yourself negatively concentrated onto all those like politics or events or crimes or whatever. We're reading about crimes, like, and then all those movements start because people reading about this guy killed this guy, and you know, black people are bad, white people are bad, and okay, black people are good, and all that mixed up, and we turn into haters after that. Technically, again, it's what makes it pretty stupid that for good ideas we become into haters. All this, like, for example, BLM movement, it's a great idea, but behind that, it divided people into two. What makes me more upset about all the situation, I'm sorry for getting back into like a politics, that instead of helping black people, it creates so much hate, So I think it makes it worse. All the situation, because I never saw so many hateful and racial comments on forums before that movement like last year started.
So I guess what I kind of noticed was that you were mentioning, basically you're saying that you kind of put up roadblocks when it comes to media and like the news. And a big reason is, well, it kind of reminds me of this idea. You know how it feels like a big part of like spiritual development is to like let go of the ego, to get through and past the ego. And I was kind of noticing culturally why it's so difficult. If you consider that media is only ego, and this is all you're using for building blocks of creating sentences and experience, it's very hard to get out of the ego in this way. But kind of going back to what I thought was interesting is what I noticed happened with the kind of polarization is that people wound up taking pride in their nationality or skin color. Double standards are around that, right? Because it seems weird if some people can and other people can't. And then it also kind of shows doing that goes back to ego, and like you're saying about the politician that did things wrong. Well, if I was the boss, I'd be doing things this way. That's kind of what it comes back to. It's that moral superiority. And then it kind of, like you were saying, in this very warped way, by taking guilt and shame, it makes people militant and violent and hateful. And it just, this is like the biggest double standard I noticed is.
You know what the most frustrating thing is? How fast media can hypnotize you. I was actually doing like experiment. I was reading like on all those like crazy last year. I've been reading primarily like Trump supporter news.
Okay.
And I noticed like within 45 minutes, if I read only those, I become a Trump supporter. I'm just like, oh yeah, those Democrats, those assholes, they're doing bad. They want to ruin our country, blah, blah. And then I was reading like opposite state of view. I was reading just Democratic views. And at some point, like same, like 1 hour or so after reading that, I become a Democrat supporter. I'm like, yeah, those Trumpists, they're doing the crazy stuff, and they just, they support hate and all the stuff. And I did it just for purpose. The purpose of this exercise was just to remind myself that it's all hypnotic inductions by media.
Yeah.
And after that, you just like, I understand that I just need to stop reading both sides. And otherwise, no matter what, I will be either on that side or on that side, but both of them are not really true. It's just like a hypnotic media induction.
They're dealing in half-truths and pseudo-logic. It's plausibility. It's not real logic. It's not statistical. It's not based in research. It's all preying on people. We're wired for plausibility, things that sound true. And that's why it's so easy if you just string a bunch of stuff together, especially when you like define terms and you hijack them, right? And then I don't know, there's so much this. Let's get back to self-care.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
For sure. Just want to take a moment. But yeah, like
talking about self-care, that's another thing. Just remove the media from your life.
Yeah.
Read about nature. Read about hikes and nature. Don't read the news on Facebook.
Right. It's true. And I noticed I was starting to kind of get into it, and that's like the gravity of it, like the power it has, right? And what I'm kind of trying to learn is just to exist alongside of it. But even because you exist alongside of something does not mean you have to enter into it or like go into the fire, right? Like, I don't walk in front of trucks because they're like on my street. You know what I mean? I can let it be a very safe distance away and just learn to like let it be. But I just wanted to kind of come back because we haven't talked about sensations or focus yet. Our focus did kind of shift. No, I mean, and that's kind of what's so troubling is like they're doing it on purpose, right? As far as where I'm coming from, this is all wired to get a reaction out of you, and then since they've been in the business so long, now they're reverting to double standards because they will get anyone's attention. Like, this is a clear double standard. This isn't fair. and then they put it in your face. Yeah, what are you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do about it? Here you go. And that's why I gotta put up the roadblock, because that's what they're gonna keep doing. And you can resign your life to that, or you could be free in very stark terms. But that's kind of like, again, why I made the toolkit. That's why this community exists. Like, I don't know, to me, this is very important stuff, because the sooner we can get out of their language and their ideas for us, where they want us to be doing and who they want us to be, then we can focus on what would work, like a real community, right? Not a community that's based on hate and turning on each other. Like, how often do Democrats turn on each other and Republicans turn on each other? When you're in that landscape, because like you were saying, imagine just on either side, right? You got two Republicans and you got two Democrats. You got one that's very much leaning the way they are, and then one that's on the fence on both sides. The moment the one that's leaning, and then versus the one that's like very much in it, reads a new article about the other side, they're going to flip. And then these are going to, and then it fragments easy. We saw this with the reaction to COVID, and we saw this with the reaction to the riots, right? We saw a huge split between the left when it came to how COVID was responded, and that made a big shift into the right. And then the right felt that ripple, and a big part of them left when the riots happened because of how, there was a lot of racism on that side. Like, I was watching both sides, and that's the thing, is if you don't go deep, it's very easy to get hypnotized. Because you're listening to the media, and you're not really seeing the people that represent each sides on the extremes, right? That was why so many people got hypnotized so easy, because they didn't go to the extremes. They just figured the other side is the extreme, and they never. And I know I'm kind of going on a tangent. Personally, my whole philosophy and how I've always done life is, because I'm so hard on myself, I always look to see how me and my team are going to the extreme, and I rein us in. I'm like that guy. Like, we can't be like that. Okay, that's how I function. So I'm very in tune to the double standards of this, and that's why I know it's all part of this, because it's at the root. It's they're fighting for our attention and our purchasing power. That's why they want to shut down alt tech, because they don't want ads and stuff popping up there. They want monopolies. But I don't know. People want to believe. I don't know. I'm going into it. So this
that's the fact that it's part of you that lived the social life for so long. It's all gets like you get programmed, and now you did like first step is trying not to get into all the social media, but that's only first step. Second step, you need to clean up your mind, and for that you have to use some meditations and other techniques just to clean it up. Otherwise, next time you see the news, it will come back in a matter of, like I said, like 20 minutes, and you start supporting either Democrats or Republicans. So
right. Like you were saying, like there has to be some like deeper kind of conditioning, and that's I think like you were saying, for me, it was that what you did. It was like when I saw both sides are just mirrors, and they're doing the exact same thing, and they're making off with everyone's money and influencing the laws, and they have all power. And I was like, oh, and it was just very easy, just like drawing it out. Because what really caught me was a good friend of mine was telling me all about one side and all the talking points in the media. And then I had another friend on the other side doing the same thing. And I was just thinking, like, I really wish, I don't know, this is kind of, I'm in a cynical state, but it was just like, I really wish I could have my friends back instead of these people working for the media agencies for free. Because they're just regurgitating, they're just doing the media's work for free by telling me all the stories and getting me hyped up and getting me into it, or trying to get me hyped up. That's the other thing too, is like, they try to get you hyped up into it. And so it's hard when you have people actively trying to get you into it. And that's why you need the roadblocks, and you need that self-compassion. And the self-compassion might just be having the compassion to freak out on someone and be like, space for a month or two. All right. And I know that sounds extreme, but at the root, it's all about, and having the self-compassion to know that that's fine. Because think of how much vitriol they've been spewing at you, how much they've been doing to your system, right? It's like poison. The longer that they're around engaging you in this, again, why the roadblocks are so important. And I think this is a really good segment to really tie in why the roadblocks are so important. is so that this doesn't happen. Like even like how this topic of self-care kind of started getting derailed a little bit by focusing on it, right? The big spirit of the community is to put up those roadblocks and get away from it, but it's also to show being that community where we put up those roadblocks and where we stay away from this. Now you can have access to people to talk about new and different things. You can have access to people that aren't trying to put you down that path, if that makes sense. So I don't know. That's why I'm very excited. But yeah, aside from politics,
Yeah.
I was just kind of, well, because we haven't got to sensations. What do you do for self-care around sensations?
For sensations, it's actually another interesting topic. I recently learned about like one of the techniques, and it was like, again, it was one of the like accident YouTube videos that I watched. And that was, I don't know, like lots of people believe it, and some people don't believe it. I just found it very interesting because I had some sensation after practicing whatever, like I saw on the YouTube. That was about guardians. I saw a video about guardians, like, you know, guardian angels or whatever it is.
Okay.
And I actually, once I was reading one of the like guys, he said, even if you don't believe in guardians, just make them up for yourself. Because when you believe that there is something over there that helps you, it does help you. Even if it's not real and it's just like you made it up in your own head, if there is something that things that helps you, that's a very good like a shoulder when you're in trouble. Like if you think you're in trouble, again, all the troubles are here, but again, and that's why you kind of trying in your head to ask for the help from outside. And it was like very interesting meditation, and I tried it, and I was actually impressed with the result because I never had like on a physical level without like using any like substances or anything. I never really like felt any differences in my mental feelings. And the technique was just like, you know, you sit and meditate and you ask your guardian just to come and get into your communication area.
Okay.
And show you some sign or whatever. And you ask him for that and you just relax and you try to feel the difference. Like you like say, okay, I'll do like 10 breaths in and breath out, and you please stay away from my communication area. And it's just your normal breathing exercise, which is breathe and you relax and you concentrate. And then you ask, okay, guardian, please come into my communication area. And you try to feel the difference on your body level and compare. And my difference was I had this choking feel in my throat, like that you want to cry. Like I asked, oh, guardian, can you please come into my communication area? And I felt like, okay, I want to cry. And again, for 10 breaths in and breath out, I had this feeling, and then I said, okay, thank you, guardian, can you please step away? So I could feel the difference and step away, and this choking feeling went away. And I played with that like for a good 10-15 minutes, and it was very interesting sensations because I did feel some difference when I asked guardian to come in or come out. And I was very surprised because it was a regular meditation. The only substance I was taking is the air. I was breathing. So that's very unusual, like when you are not in a dreaming stage, but in the regular stage, like your first level of meditation, when you're just like trying to relax your mind, just to start feeling something physically. And the end was actually, I said, okay, guardian, let's hug. And I started crying. And that was very, very unusual and interesting experience for me. So
yeah, that sounds really powerful.
Yeah.
that, I mean, especially too, like he was saying, like even if you don't believe in it, to make it up and then to have an experience like that, like
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. So again, I do believe in the spiritual world, that there is something outside of what we can see, because I think what we can see is just only our level of awareness is
Sure.
our the way how we all agree to see this world. But there are lots of parallel stages outside of it that just we don't see, just because we're on different level of awareness.
Yeah.
And I believe that outside of this level of awareness, there are lots of other levels of awareness. And some guardians may exist. Why not? Somebody who helping you, or why not? Or maybe not all of them helping you. Some of them are using you because you cannot see them. But I do believe it's possible. The fact, the only thing that I can be hesitant if they really helping me or not at that point. But I did had these physical sensations which surprised me a lot. Because
Yeah.
if I felt like mild, like okay, something like itches on my cheek or wherever, yeah, it could be my natural reaction, like itches, like okay, guardian, come to my area, and
Yeah.
something itches, yeah, who knows. But it was very emotional change, like
Yeah.
especially with when I start crying, and that was very interesting. Again, I don't want to, again, I believe in lots of stuff, but I also am trying to be logical in that, and I'm trying to understand that no matter in what I believe, I could be wrong.
Sure.
But it's my choice, and that's why I hope I will never become a fanatic, because fanatics just, they believe in something and they don't doubt. I
Yeah.
believe in something and I doubt. But again, we all need some kind of beliefs to have our base of understanding of this reality. So I do have my own set of beliefs, but I don't try to propagate it or force anyone else to believe in the same. And at the same time, I, as I said, I think that I believe in this stuff, but I could be wrong,
Sure.
which which gives me flexibility to change my beliefs if there is some proof and some other beliefs will happen, so I
Definitely.
can change them. But that was very interesting experience. And again, with the time, it's kind of like for a couple of days, I had this game and I felt it pretty good. Then it kind of slowed down and melted down. So now I'm not crying anymore. But it's still, that gave me a good push in my meditation, on my desire to meditate. Because before that practice, it was just boring. I need to sit and breathe for 20 minutes. Okay, relax my mind. Okay, I'm thinking about relaxing my mind. Stop thinking about relaxing my mind. Just just breathe. So that was pretty boring. With at least with this trying to communicate with something else and this memory that I did feel something different from my just normal sitting and breathing, it makes it interesting.
Definitely.
It makes my meditation interesting. It's a good how it goes. It's a good like bonus for technically boring time spending when you sit and do nothing. So I think it was a good sign that I saw this video and I tried that technique. So
Yeah.
it's one of my like main meditations now. So I stopped really feeling this communication, but what I'm doing in my head, I'm just saying like, guardian, please be in my area and we will just sit together and be quiet. And
Nice.
I just like have in my imagination that there is some power that just sits next to me and helping me out. And I'm just sitting and meditating again, doing the same thing. I'm just concentrating on my breath and trying to stop inner talking. But I do it with more desire and with more enthusiasm, I would say.
Nice. Yeah, that's huge. And that's what's kind of cool. I like that because it just kind of reminds me of like how all this, or like how hypnosis works basically, by
Mm-hmm.
engaging all of these parts of the system to really get your whole being like engaged in that experience. So that way you can tap into your power. I guess that's more about tapping into a power, like kind of like the guardian, like right, like the
Yeah.
protection or whatever comes from the guardian. Whereas
Yeah.
like meditation is more that like stillness and like almost kind of like letting go of all of that, like letting go of all this and just really sitting in here, I guess. And that's why I feel like both are, well, that's very true. Like, that's why, I don't know, I've done a lot of research on meditation, and honestly, these are the 5 different meditations. This is no mind. This is when you clear your thoughts. This is when you focus like on a candle and you're just focusing on one thing. This is like body scanning. This is when you're just focusing on the sensations in your body. This is like mantra. This is like if you just had a mantra that you're reciting over and over. Right. And then the last one's like yoga, like the connecting to the breath. But no mind is different than connecting to the breath because you're not paying attention to the breath. Like, and that's like the 5 forms of meditation. It's like one for each of our channels. And that's why I wanted to dispel the myth, because there's all these, that's the thing is like, I guess for people that don't feel they can meditate is because you are meditating in some way if you're using any of these things. It's just that there's different forms of meditation and it comes down to purpose and all that kind of stuff. But just to kind of clarify, but very cool. I think that's such a great, I would like to play with that, like, because it's so simple and easy. Like I've seen some other kind of like techniques like this where you work with like a wise advocate, and it just seems more convoluted, whereas this is just very simple and straight to the point.
You know what, another interesting thing, because I asked Victoria to try to do the same, but I didn't tell her about my sensations. I just told her like, I saw this video, try to talk your guardian.
Sure. Oh, did she have the same sensations?
Yeah, no, not the same sensations. She had different ones, but she ended up crying because it was so unusual and strong feelings.
Yeah, very interesting.
But I didn't tell her. I didn't want her to be under my influence, technically be hypnotized by my experience. That's why I told her just like, there is this video where they're teaching you how to talk to guardians. Just watch it and try it. And she had it, and she had her conversation with her guardians, and in her ways, her face became numb. So it was becoming numb. So she was like, same thing. She asked her guardian to come into her area and talk to her and give her some sign. And when she did it, she had her face completely numb.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, and another thing, what she had, her head started moving. So she just like asked something like, where are you? And her head just like moved like this way, she said. And then something like that. So
yeah, very fascinating.
She had very interesting experience too with her, exercises in this type of meditation.
Definitely. Yeah, that sounds very powerful. I was just kind of seeing like all the different ways, like the physiology, like when it showed her where the guardian is, and then like how it drew the focus there, but then like the sensations she had, like the numb or the lack of sensations in a way, right? But then all the things going on, I don't know. I just love thinking about things in like this light. But that's super huge. I was curious, just for the sake of time, because I think we're going into around 70 minutes or so. Just and to kind of start wrapping it up, I was curious, what about focus? Like, to me, focus seems to kind of correlate to these bottom 3, right? Because like it depends on what sensations and how we're paying attention to them, right? Depends on what thoughts we're focusing on and how we're paying attention to them. So I was curious, how do you practice self-care with focus?
You see, I learned from myself, I am more, I remember from the NLP classes, when you have physical feelings, how they call it, kinesthetic, that's right. I am a kinesthetic person. So my focus, I usually, like sometimes in my meditations, I'm playing with running energy through my body. So I'm kind of getting the feeling sensation of my energy going up on my legs, up to my knees, and ended up in the middle, like below the belly bottom, and then from my arms, they're just going to the same area, just going through my arms, going down to this belly button area, or I just start throwing this energy feeling, just like from right arm to left arm, right arm. And it just like goes to this arm, goes to this arm. So I have meditations like that too sometimes, and it's those people who describe those feelings, they say that this way you kind of, you're lifting energy and you feeding yourself with energy. I don't know how accurate and true is that, so I don't, I'm not sure if I feel more energized after that or not, but it's, again, I like it because I do feel something.
Yeah.
It's not just like I'm trying to lift energy and I'm just like, oh, what's lifting energy? I do feel that it's just like water coming down up from your body, and it's feeling like goes from arm to another, goes to your top of your head. You can drop it down. You can concentrate on one spot in your body, just like feel it, then just move your awareness to another part of your body. So I think it's a very interesting meditation too, when you practice your concentration on, in my case, on your body. You can concentrate, like you said, on something else. You can concentrate on the fire, you can concentrate on the water. There are also like meditations when you concentrate on your hearing. So you sit and you listen to the sounds of the world. And I didn't practice that too often, but I've been reading about people who did. And they said at the end, like first, like you sit in your room, how many sounds do you hear? Usually not much. Maybe like refrigerator starts working, and that's about it. But when you work on that, they say they start hearing the stuff that they never think about hearing. They can hear just like people walk outside. There is a car like mile away drove, and they could separate that sound. So their concentration on sounds becomes very unusual and becomes pretty heavy. So they can separate lots of like hundreds and hundreds different sounds that going on in pretty much in a quiet surrounding, and it appears it's not that quiet.
Yeah.
There are lots and lots of sounds, and the target of this meditation too is the concentration on sounds slows down your inner talking.
Sure.
You start slowing down the blah 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 in your head, and it helps to stop your inner talking as well. Same. There are different meditations on smell too. You start just like you breathe and you try to identify the smells. Like try to see the different smell sensation in the air. And it's the same thing. It's just different organ. It's not ears, it's your nose. So, but ears people find easier than the nose. We are not dogs, so we have pretty bad smell and sensation. So it takes longer time to develop it than your hearing meditation.
Definitely. But that's also, I like that you added those kind of caveats, because those are, that's the other two. Well, those are the other two channels, smell and hear. Because that would be how I understand it. Like the hearing would be kind of here, because like instead of focusing on the candle, you'd be focusing on the sound. But I guess then in the same way, right? Like you're saying, you'd be focusing on the smell, but what you did is you highlighted all the other senses we can use to focus with, which is really cool. Yeah, very cool. Cool. Yeah. And then I guess the big, well, does anything else come to mind? Is there anything else you'd want to share about either physiology, thoughts, sensations, or focus?
I think we discussed a lot, so I think we just need to kind of get it to the summary level.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I'm curious how, when you're practicing self-care and you're having these experiences, how does all of that you shared, how does that all add up to this trust? How does that relate to the trust, maybe an inner trust that you build by just having these experiences?
I probably say that it's all the intentional is to build the kind of trust into yourself, into the that you're strong enough to do it. And we're always fighting with the stress in this world, and that teaches you that technically there is no stress. Again, it's just events in your life, and that it's just another way of living. I wouldn't say it's like good or bad. It's just another way of living. And if this way of living makes you happy and makes you kind of love your life, then it's your path. That's what you need to do. And I think my problems through my life was that I didn't see the sense in just living like normal human life, which doesn't mean that not normal human life is bad or worse. It's just different paths that I enjoy. So those philosophers, those people who trying to find something in themselves, trying to study all those meditations and everything, it's just another way of living your life. And if you enjoy it, it's yours. If you don't, then just go get married, get a bunch of kids, and that's what most of the people do. The problem only with when they start saying that they're not happy with that. So why are you doing that if you're not happy?
Sure.
And then they need to start searching for another ways of living. But I think you need to search for all the different ways until you find something that you just enjoy. And I think that's the only reason. That's a reason for living. Otherwise, we're gonna die, no matter what we do. I study my awareness. I don't study it and just living on, sitting on the couch and watching TV. We're all gonna die anyway. So, on a big level, on universe level, it doesn't make too much sense for us. So I think the important thing is just like if you enjoy what you're doing or not.
Sure. Yeah. And because at the right rate, like you're your experience, this is what you can control. I was curious. Well, it sounds like that you have trust with yourself to find what works, to find your path. I'm curious when you have that trust to find what resonates with you, how does that further build trust?
It should, again, but we all have a weak moment. You see, the thing is that like a main program that you need to build here is don't give up. Sure. Because we all have moments. Like I'm doing like my yoga exercises for like 4 or 5 months, and then I have some like a weak moment, and I don't do it for 1 day and 2 days, and then like it accumulates, and like heck with that. I did it for 6 months. I don't see any changes. Why should I do it even? But then I understand that when I don't do it, it makes it worse just because I give up. I do nothing. At least this way, in a way, I'm fighting. So I think like from one of those Indian books, they said that it's not that scary. It's scary to die when you do nothing. It's not scary to die when you fight for your life. And fighting for your life doesn't really need that you with gun just start fighting. You just fighting like you're doing your exercises, you're trying to study philosophic, studies. You're trying to do something, and that's your fight. You fight trying to get knowledge and trying to become better yourself. That's your fight. And then when fear will step away. Just because you're in action, so you need to do something.
Definitely.
And that's where important part starts. Like when you do something, you need to at least enjoy it. So
definitely, right? Yeah, it kind of comes back, right? There's always things happening. We're always doing stuff. Might as well focus on the things we enjoy, or doing it the way we enjoy it. If it's something that we might not enjoy so much. Very cool. Yeah, I guess that's really it. That's our self-care convo. That's kind of it. This is number 2. There's going to be more to come. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just very excited.
Thank you, Francis. Hey.
We covered a lot. So yeah, I'll wrap it up. This is Andrey again. I keep going the wrong way. This is Andrey.
That's Andrey.
And then I'll have this up soon. So thank you everybody for stopping in, and have a good night.
Cool. Thank you. Good night.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.